Breaking news, a humanoid swimmer has been spotted 6,000 meters below the surface, moving at the speed of a Formula One car. And no, this is not a Marvel trailer leak. This is supposedly Aquaman. And wait, it gets crazier. The coordinates he disappeared into, yeah. That's exactly where ancient maps place the mythical city of Atlantis. What would actually happen if Atlantis existed today? How would governments react? What would science say? And could humans even survive in a civilization built under 600 atmospheres of pressure? Let's dive deeper. And I mean literally deeper. First things first, if Atlantis exists, where the heck would it be? Forget the fantasy maps. Let's get scientific. Our top candidate is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. This is a massive underwater mountain range where two of Earth's tectonic plates are pulling apart. The continuous shifting and volcanic activity could easily hide or even reveal the remnants of an ancient city. In fact, some unconfirmed ocean floor maps have shown small, symmetrical, artificial-looking structures right in that area. Another hotspot is the Azores High-Depth Valley. This region is known for its intense earthquakes and volcanic activity, which perfectly matches Plato's description of how Atlantis sank. The depths here, between 3,000 and 4,000 meters, are ideal for both catastrophic collapse and potential geological uplift. But what if Atlantis didn't sink at all? What if the Earth just dried up around it? Some theories suggest that ancient, vast seas once covered parts of the Sahara. If that's the case, Aquaman would be very out of place in the desert. Imagine Aquaman just walking on sand. Yeah, that's exactly how ridiculous he'd look. Now, let's talk anatomy. Because if Aquaman is real, his body should break about 200 laws of physics in 10 seconds. Let's start with pressure. At 6,000 meters deep, the pressure is 600 times what we feel on the surface. For a normal human, our bodies would collapse at just 100 meters. So how does Aquaman survive? His bone density would need to be at least 3 times higher than a whale's. His lungs couldn't be filled with air. They'd have to contain a specialized incompressible fluid. And his inner ear and sinus cavities would need to be reinforced to avoid imploding. Then there's his speed. He was clocked at 300 kilometers per hour. To put that in perspective, our fastest Olympic swimmers top out at 8 kilometers per hour. A swordfish, one of the fastest animals in the ocean, hits 110. To move at 300 kilometers per hour, water would feel like concrete. He'd need ultra-low friction skin, similar to a shark's dermal denticles, along with an insane amount of fast-twitch muscle fibers. His body would have to be perfectly aerodynamic, and his heart would need a massive capacity to pump blood under that kind of strain. And what about talking underwater? Sound travels faster, sure, but human vocal cords simply don't work. To communicate, Aquaman would need whale-like vibrating membranes and specialized throat and tongue structures that don't collapse under pressure. So if Aquaman can talk underwater, he's not just a superhero. He's a biological miracle. Now let's look at the city itself. How could Atlantis actually exist under 6,000 meters of crushing pressure? The first problem is energy. Where would they get power? The answer lies in hydrothermal vents. These are underwater volcanoes that spew out superheated mineral-rich water. This geothermal energy could theoretically power the entire city lights, machinery, maybe even Aquaman's trident. Next, the buildings. You can't just build skyscrapers down there. To withstand the pressure, every structure would need to be spherical to distribute the force evenly. The materials would have to be biomimetic, meaning they'd mimic natural structures. Imagine buildings made from shell-like composites and nanostructured frameworks that copy the strength of fish skeletons. Of course, the biggest question is oxygen. Humans can't breathe underwater, so how do Atlanteans survive? They'd either have gills, like fish, or advanced microfiltration systems that extract oxygen directly from the water. Their homes would likely be massive oxygen domes, filled with air produced by genetically engineered algae that constantly replenish the supply. And finally, how do they see? At 6,000 meters, it is total, absolute darkness. The solution would be a city lit by bioluminescence. Picture entire streets illuminated by glowing algae, or genetically engineered sea creatures acting as living street lamps. They might even have fiber optic tunnels that channel faint sunlight from the surface all the way down to the city. So the moment of discovery arrives. A U.S. submarine confirms the city's existence. What happens next? Instantly, The US, Russia, and China dispatched their most advanced submarines and fleets of autonomous underwater drones. The area around Atlantis becomes the most heavily restricted military zone on the planet. The first engagements wouldn't be with missiles, but with stealthy drones trying to get a closer look. The scientific community would be in absolute shock. Are these a new human subspecies? A bizarre mutation? An alternate branch of the Homo genus? Getting DNA samples would be the new space race, but it's almost impossible. Meanwhile, on the surface, the world goes crazy. TikTok videos pop up claiming Aquaman was in my neighborhood. Twitter explodes with questions like, does Atlantis require a passport? And on Reddit, you'd see threads like, bro, they're turning the lost city into an international fight club. The global economy would teeter on the brink. The prospect of deep-sea mining for unknown resources would cause a boom, but Atlantis now controls all deep ocean trade routes from below. The world's economy could either collapse or enter a new golden age, all depending on Atlantis' first move. At this point, world powers are scrambling to write the handbook, How to Negotiate with Atlantis 101. Governments send hundreds of underwater drones to establish contact. Atlantis finally responds, but not with weapons. Instead, a massive city-sized hologram appears before the international flotilla. A voice echoes through the water. We do not fear you. But you should fear the pressure beneath your oceans. The message is clear. Any real conflict could trigger catastrophic tsunamis, wiping out coastal cities across the globe. Then he surfaces. Aquaman appears before the United Nations, a living testament to this impossible civilization. He delivers a final, chilling message. We have watched you for thousands of years. This is your last chance. Humanity is in shock, forced to reckon with its own fragility. If Atlantis were real, humanity wouldn't just meet a new civilization. We'd confront the vast, terrifying unknown and realize that the greatest powers on Earth might not be on the land, but hidden far beneath the waves. And hey, if Aquaman is watching this video, bro, jump into the comments. We have some questions. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and dive deeper with SciNex, where the future deserves a scientific explanation. And curiosity never drowns.